Welcome back. We're going to go ahead and start video 2. So NE150 video 2 modeling the food can. This is Jeff Byers. Let's go ahead and start inserting edge loops. So I'm going to go to the side view, and to make this a lot easier for us, we're going to go into shading and click on X-ray. So this allows us to see through. Also, when we're adding edge loops, it's a lot easier to find out where you're at with the reference, and you do want to the closer you can come to creating the reference, the actual object, the better and more lifelike your models will start getting. It is essential that you use references. So hold the Shift key down, right mouse button over top, go to Insert Edge Loop, and let's go ahead and just follow along. And yes, I could go in here and cut this can in half and model the top, and then actually delete the bottom and duplicate it over. You know, that seems like a lot of work actually to do that, so I'm just going to do it all together. By the time you cut it in half and do all that stuff and reverse it, and merge all the vertices, I'm already done. So let's go ahead and just do both at the same time. So we're going to start dividing the top up so we can get the inner part of the rings and get all the rings set up and start working that way. Again, there's a million ways to model this, maybe not that many, but at least more than one. And if you find a different way, go for it. But at least maybe you can learn something from the video and at least start this way. I'm going to click on the paint selection tool. I use this all the time. It's really nice. Hold the B key, the B as in boy, and your left mouse button to scale it down. You're just moving your mouse back and forth to scale it. And what you want to do is get about half the size of the polygon, and that way you can paint. So we're going to need to get in face mode, and let's go ahead and paint the top of the selection. The nice thing is backface culling is on automatically, so you are not going to select anything unless you want to select things. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and get these down here. Now when we are extruding and stuff, we do not want to have anything else selected. So you can see I've got some edges selected. So I'm going to right click over this, go into selection mode, and make sure that I'm only in face mode, and make sure nothing else is selected. So there we go. And you can see that Maya remembered that I had those selected, which is cool. So I'm going to go in here, and there's two ways to extrude. Actually, there's three ways. One is up here, the icon right up here, clicking on the icon. And another way is holding down the Shift key, right-clicking over top, and going to Extrude Face. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you can see that I'm going to rotate around where my manipulator is. If you don't see your manipulator, you may want to restart Maya. May want to turn off your computer and restart Maya. You should be able to see it again. So I'm going to click on the little cube up here. So it's green cube, not the arrow, green cube. And then when you click on that, this allows, you can see that we now have a uniform scale key, or uniform scale. And we're going to kind of draw that into the thickness of the rim of the can. Now the rim of the can is not very thick, so if we look at the real can, you can see that it is pretty thin. And we're actually probably thicker than we should be, but we're going to leave it the way it is. Okay? So with that done, I'm not going to click off of anything. I'm just going to hit the G key again, okay, and go underneath, kind of where we found where the icon is, and we're going to click on the blue arrow to move it up. So I'm going to move it up. Okay. Now we're going to kind of go to the top again, and we're going to look at the rim of the can here and take a look at, are we deep enough? Yeah, I think that's good. We can make it a little bit deeper. Let's go ahead and do that just a little bit more, probably. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a crease here. So we're going to do a little bit something different. I can see there's a little crease in there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the G key. That re-invokes the extrude. Okay? So what we're going to use now is the scale key. Okay? So we're going to scale this. Click on, again, the green. It's going to turn yellow when I go over it and click on it and kind of scale this in a bit, like that, just a little bit, okay? And we are going to hit the G key again and use the blue arrow to pull it out a little bit. So when we pull it back out a little bit, we're kind of adding a little edge there, like the can is being lifted up, and kind of gives it a different dimension there. And what we're going to do is we're going to scale this too a little bit. So we're going to move it out and scale it at just a little bit to kind of give it that just a little bit of a bevel there on the edge there. You can see that. I'll get a little closer so you can see it. So there you go. So you can see how that's kind of angled up a little bit. And I can change that, make it a little bit less angled, but I think that's good. And so it's kind of going in and lifting back out again. And I'm going to hit the G key. Now we're going to start doing the ridges, as you can see here. And I'm going to go into this view here. And you can see that first ridge is going to be in a little bit and then up. So what we're going to do is hit the scale and then scale it in. So we're going to scale that in a little bit. Okay. And we want that ridge to go up and then back down again. So you can see when I go over here, you can see that ridge is coming up and then down, then up and then down, and then it's going to go up and then down. Or maybe that's pushing down. So we'll make those ridges and then we'll push it down at the very end. So it's going to move in, they're going to move it up, down, and then down. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's see if I can't remember if I actually extruded or not, so I didn't. So I'm going to go back, Control Z, to kind of see if you did or not. I've been yakking, so wasn't paying attention, so I'm going to go Control Z. And so I'm going to hit the G key again. That gets us back to extrude. Again, if the extrude is, the G isn't activating the extrude, then of course you can activate it by clicking here or right clicking over here and selecting it that way. Anyway, I selected it. Let's go ahead and scale. Again, you guys know how to do that now. We're going to scale it in. And this time we're going to move it up. So we're going to click on the blue and move it up a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to hit the G key. And we are going to scale that in a little bit. It's going to be our first ridge. And move it back down. Whoops. So G key, scale, and move it back down a little bit like that. So we have that little ridge there. Okay. Now from the side view, we kind of have to watch this very closely. So I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to move this guy over to the side here a little bit. There we go. And so we can see that my first one is right there. So I'm going to kind of match that. You can see that's where the first one is. I'll go to the top view and kind of look at that. So there's my first ridge. And we're at the bottom of the can. So let's go to the top of the can here real quick and kind of take a look at this. So up, down, and then up and down. The second ridge is going to be a little bit smaller. Okay. So let's go in here and do another extrude and scale. And we want to go up now as we scale in, move it up. Okay, a little bit, not as much as the other one. And then hit the G key, scale, okay, and then move it down. So we get a little ridge there. And then we're going to hit the G key again, scale it in, right about to there, and then the G key, we're going to move it down, and then scale it in, and we probably moved it down too far, so that's okay. We'll just leave it as is, and we can change that later. So that's kind of what we have. So I'm going to take the grid off because that's kind of in the way. So I'm going to turn the grid off. There we go. So basically that is our can. So when we rotate to the top looks exactly the same. So in the next video I'm going to show how we can start pulling out the sides to give the sides the edge here, and then we're going to start adding an edge loop cage to this to start giving it depth. And again, we can start manipulating the can so it looks more like a can. And that's basically it for now. Until next time.